Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're talking about Lost Season 2, Episode 7, The Other 48 Days. After surviving a terrible plane crash, Ana Lucia becomes the leader of the Tell Section survivors. However, the newly formed community is put through extreme stress as they become targeted in attacks by strange indigenous individuals. Yeah, once again, I didn't write that. I just stole it from the internet.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, though, because, one, the wording is weird. Two, they refer to Ana Lucia as the de facto leader, which I don't really think is the case, because doesn't de facto mean, like, it's something they don't want?
I think so.
Right? That's what I always thought. Like Jack Shepard's the de facto leader. He doesn't want to be it. He's the doctor, so everyone naturally like follows him.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pull Matthew and I'm gonna look this up.
Look it up. De facto leader.
Let's see. The de facto leader of a country or region is one who assumed authority, regardless of whether by lawful, constitutional, or legitimate means.
So I guess technically she would be. I guess
De facto means like actual, especially. So, yeah,
actual, especially.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is boring. I had always just assumed it was the leader who didn't want to be leader. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, let us know at hashtag Lost Legacies. What'd you think about this episode?
It was good.
I'll say it's clunky. It had some really like flow issues, but I mean, it's kind of you have to forgive it a little bit because it's essentially a clip show. This whole episode was like a clip show from a different series.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Because typically on TV, when you get a clip show, it's just kind of like the best of whatever show you're watching. Star Trek Next Generation has one. Which was pretty bad, but they did it in an interesting way. Like they tried to add a story through it, but this one is like, this is stuff we've never seen before. So it was definitely like a clip show of a Lost spinoff because it's a whole new cast, different part of the island. But yeah, I think it worked for the most part. I feel like there's not a lot to say though, because there wasn't a lot of new info provided to us, the audience. There's certainly some twists and turns, and there is some new elements in there. Yeah, like I don't know like what the alternative was, you know. The alternative is we just don't get that story. We don't get the other 48 days.
Yeah.
Which would have been a crime because I'm glad we got to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like you have to measure like your expectations because, you know, we've been given everything from the side of, you know, from one side of the surviving group. You know, we get to see these new people from the eyes of the Rafties. So we can just see like, oh man, these people have been through it. Like they've been through a lot. And then when we finally get to come to this episode has kind of the heavy burden of being like, hey, you now have a whole season and 7 episodes worth of story to catch up on. So we got to roll it out. You know, we got to do this thing. So yeah, like credit where credit is due. Like they really did pull it off. My only real issue was the ending. Because everything else in the episode I thought was fantastic. Getting to see how this group of survivors, you know, manages to survive the tribulations that they're facing, you know, like the scenes where the others are stealing people, like it's crazy. So my only real issue was once we caught up to the Rafties meeting these guys, the episode kind of just sort of went down for me.
Yeah. I think also the music too. I wasn't a fan of the music in this one.
Yeah.
Which I mean, for the most part, the music in Lost is either really great or it's just like atmospheric.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, like, I don't know, like the ending was a bit annoying because it's like, okay, it's stuff we've already seen, but I understand why they want to show it because it is part of their story. The tail section survives; it's a part of their story now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like just montaging through that, but it wasn't good montage music. It was
Mm-mm.
it was the same like the same little tune just repeated. It was just repetition. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. And the fact that the editing didn't help either. Lots of fade ins and fade outs. I'm like, just get on with it. Just give me a hard cut, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is the first episode where they really played with the fade ins. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I did not like it. Especially it's such a lost style to done. You cut to commercial break. You know, you just straight up cut to a black screen, and the music tells you done commercial time.
Yeah.
I think even without the commercial, since everything's streaming now, like it still works. It's a good little chapter break that just cutting in a black screen. There are some very awkward transitions with the fade ins and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I did enjoy it. I liked seeing the, day one, day two, day
Mm-hmm.
35, stuff like that. I liked it. It was a killer opening.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think they had a tall order to fill compared to the season one opening.
Yeah.
So this one wasn't as intense because they didn't actually have a plane crash set.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's just kind of like on the beach already, just trying to pull people out of the water and stuff.
Yeah. See, I did like that because we didn't get that in the first one. Like they
Mm-hmm.
crashed on the beach.
Yeah.
The tail section, they crashed in the ocean. So that was interesting. So you got to see everyone kind of like drowning and dying. I feel like this one was a bit more graphic. Even though there wasn't blood like in the season one, like
Mm-hmm.
this episode was straight up showing dead bodies in the water.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. I think it really set up the episode we're getting ourselves into. And then even later too, jumping ahead a bit when they save Bernard in the tree, you straight
Oh
up see
yeah.
that dead body crash down with the chairs. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, that was rough. I'm like, oh wow, that was graphic. Again, no
Yeah.
blood, but you saw the flinging of a dead body. I was like, wow.
Even when Libby resets that dude's broken bone,
Mhm.
it's like we saw the bone, we saw it sticking out. It was there for a good,
Yeah.
like second or two, and you're like, oh geez, yeah.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of like the Shannon episode where she was not really dead. It was like a hallucination. That was pretty graphic. So yeah, it was pretty intense, and I think the tail section survivors definitely had it, I guess, worse than the rest of the survivors, but also less more intensity, but less encounters. I feel like you couldn't do a full show off of the tail section survivors because most of the 48 days they were walking,
Uh
and there's a lot less of them.
yeah, I mean, one, they the others, took a lot of them in the beginning, in those
Mhm.
first couple of days. And then yeah, you're absolutely right. Like they did spend a lot of their time just moving around trying to figure things out. So yeah, I guess potentially like the the better choice was to go with the people who actually landed on the beach and all that.
Mhm.
We also haven't really gotten into who any of these people are though, because that's kind of what we spent the first couple episodes in season one was figuring out who everybody is. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, it's like, oh, and fantastic, this dude's a doctor, like, okay, cool. Like
Right.
I think that simple in of having your, I don't want to call Jack like your lead character, but like for the purposes of this of the season opening, he's kind of like our lead. We're following Jack, and I think having your lead character be somebody who actively helps people Like that's their profession. Like they're going to immediately jump into like, okay, I got to help. I think that does a lot of the heavy lifting for your stuff. You're not going to just wait for your character to start like, oh, well, maybe I should go do this. Like, no, full on, we're going. And we kind of get that with both Mr. Echo and Ana Lucia. You know, Ana Lucia like throws off her jacket and starts going back into the water, pulling people out. Mr. Echo, like, you know, takes the kids aside, you know, and, you know, tries to figure things out. So again, this episode had like that heavy burden of having a whole season's worth of work to catch up on in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the encounters are different because it doesn't seem like they don't know anything about the smoke monster.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like the security system. They don't know anything about that. They found a bunker and we're like, oh, okay, let's go in it. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, we're kind of just led to believe that there's nothing there. It's like, okay, I guess this used to be storage, maybe.
Yeah, they find like some blankets, a glass eye, and you're like, okay, like, yeah, cool. Oh, and they find the radio. It's just that the biggest thing that they've had encounters with were the others, whereas the other survivors, there's still like a rumor to them. You know, I think now they acknowledge that like there are other people on this island, but or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
they've known that since very early on.
Oh, right, because of Ethan.
Yeah. But it's just like they don't know how many. They just, is it just one dude? Saeed's been talking about Russo this whole time, so they know that there's other people out there. There's other stuff and things on this island. But they've had it pretty good for the most part, you know, our survivors. So because they had it lush, they had the lush life for a while. But a lot of that first season was about characters, but it was also about just surviving, you know. Oh, we're out of water, we're out of this and that. Like the tail section, like they didn't have any water bottles, they didn't have matches, anything. Like they were roughing it for what, 48 days. This entire episode is a flashback. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is cool because you got to play with it. I guess, I mean, for the most part, I guess this was like chronological. It just happened to take place, you know, over the course of the whole series in one episode. But I like this. I like doing this. One, this is one of the only, if not, I don't know, this might be the only lost episode that takes place entirely on the island.
Because even the opening doesn't, even the series opening doesn't do that because they keep flashing back to the plane.
Yeah, so I think this might be the only one, unless there's another one that happens later. Maybe there is, I don't know. If not the only one, it's one of the few that take place entirely on the island, and I think it works. Other than the pacing and the ending, but even then, I like the ending where we see Shannon get shot again because we see it from their perspective. It was just the kind of like little clip show montage that happened before that I didn't like. So after this episode, there is no actor who has been in every single episode of Lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, I kind of like that because we didn't have any of our main characters in here. And with the exception of Jin, I think like Sawyer and Michael, that was like archive footage. That was from previous episodes, you know? So yeah, with the exception of Jin, like we didn't have any of our main castaways like filming new stuff for this one.
Yeah.
So what do you think of like this new cast now that we actually get to see things from their perspective and we actually get to see them longer than just a few lines here and there?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, this whole episode has kind of been weird analogy, but it's kind of been like seeing how the sausage gets made. You don't want to know what went into making the sausage. You just you want the kielbasa, you know, like you just want it. You want it at the store prepackaged, and that's it. Like we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Because we've seen these people sparsely throughout these other episodes, and there's a real like hauntedness to them. There's a real sense of urgency that they all carry, and I kind of have to say I didn't exactly feel that with them in this episode. And it's strange because the way they were talking around the rafties, and maybe this is because like the POV is shifting. The way they talked around the rafties, like it was hushed, and they were scared, and they didn't know, and like we've lost a lot of things. We've all lost a lot of things. Stuff like that, where it's like they're battle hardened. They are fully in the trenches. They've been in the trenches for 48 days. And then seeing it from this perspective, it's kind of like, I'm not going to dispute that. Obviously, like the others have been, after them, and they've, having Goodwin be there, really messed everything up. But it's also, I don't know. I don't get that sense of urgency or fear. And I didn't really feel that from them. I only really saw like Mr. Echo be the one who was like really like terrified because he like killed those two the first night and then just went without speaking, completely cut himself off from that. So yeah, like it's still good because we can retextualize and be like, okay, like these are actual people. Like again, like you said last episode, like, oh yeah, oh dang it, I forgot what her name is, but the flight attendant from the first episode is there.
Cindy,
yeah, like she's there, and like, oh cool, yeah, like that's a nice little thing to remember. Like, oh, okay, cool. And then of course like Libby, we find out, okay, like she is a clinical psychologist, dropped out of med school year 1, so that's why she was able to reset the bone. Like, okay, like it, and also getting to see like a different side of Ana Lucia, where we've only seen her as like the calculative one, and I have a plan, and everybody is screwing with that plan. And here it's sort of like we see her sort of falling into being the leader, and so we see that growth, and we see how everybody comes together to kind of trust her. And of course we get that one really good moment where Bernard talks to Mr. Echo about his wife, asking if he saw his wife in the water. And so it's like, okay, cool, because we keep getting it from Rose. She's like, she knows Bernard's not dead. She knows that. And so it was nice to see the flip side to that, of where Bernard is, obviously that's the first day, but like in shock, and sort of we don't really know where he falls by the end of that scene. But it's just like, I don't know where my wife is. She wasn't in the water, but I don't know where she is. So yeah, I will say that I do like the group as a whole, and I'm excited to see how they all interact with everybody, minus Cindy, obviously, because the others took her. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how everybody reacts to and interacts with the other survivors.
Yeah. Goodwin, man. Did you guess like he was the one, he was the other?
I mean, as soon as he said his name, I was like, oh yeah, because that's the body that Mr. Echo shows Jin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they name dropped him like last episode, I think, and I was like, oh okay. So as soon as he said Goodwin, I was like, oh okay, this is the asshole.
Well, see, that's the thing, because rewatching it, like they never say if he was an other or if he was one of them. So like,
oh right.
So now I'm kind of like I don't know. I think I was surprised when I first watched it years ago. But this one, I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really see. I guess the other character, Nathan, was the red herring. They wanted us to believe he was the other, but I think they could have done more to kind of. Granted, you only have one episode to do it, and this one was even. I think this was like a 50-minute episode. It was longer than usual, but
if they had just hard cut from by the time they find Jin and stuff all the way until they get to the end of the last episode, that saved you like 2 minutes. You could have had 2 extra minutes of footage to use.
I'm also kind of I wish they didn't reveal that Goodwin was the one who killed him, Nathan. I think it would have been more impactful if we didn't know it was Goodwin.
Yeah.
I guess because once Nathan's gone, like I guess that means like less tension. I don't know. I think on paper it makes sense. Like, oh, this is the cool twist. It's actually Goodwin. But if they would have just saved that for his last scene with Ana Lucia, that would have been perfect. Because it's never good to have your audience knowing more than your main characters. I mean, unless it's a mystery. Like, I don't know. It could have gone either way. I think they could have made it more impactful that he was the actual the killer.
Yeah. I mean, one, we already saw his dead body, so we knew what happened to him.
Yeah, we know he dies.
Yeah, we also know that he like betrays the group, or he did something bad to the group beforehand. So when his name pops up in this episode, you're like, okay, something bad is going to happen to you. There could have been a whole thing. I 100% agree with you. Like, if you wanted to, you didn't have to show Goodwin one breaking out Nathan and killing him, because that just also adds to the tension. And yeah, it's like once we finally get to that scene where him and Ana Lucia are talking, and then he can just drop like, yeah, Nathan wasn't a good person.
Yeah,
like I took care of it. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. See, that's what I was saying. Like, I think it would have been more impactful if that's the reveal. Ana Lucia is the one who kind of walks us through it, and the fact that like he wasn't wet, he didn't come out of the water. Yeah, I think that would have been better as far as just storytelling angle goes. But I think they could have also done more for us to like him, because I think that would have helped the twist. There's nothing he did to not like him until he kills Nathan. But even then, like the way so you figured it out, because the last two episodes.
Well, see, I always just assumed it was an other kind of like, oh, they had their own Ethan, where Ethan infiltrated the group. So I was like, oh, okay. I just assumed that Goodwin was an other who infiltrated them.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing they say hints at that. It's just kind of like, well, we've seen them do this before. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
So there could have been another way to handle it. And having a red herring as Nathan isn't enough. Like, we needed to actively believe Goodwin was one of the good guys.
Also, because Nathan as a red herring doesn't do anything. Like, one, Goodwin just is a guy. He's got a kind of likable face, and you're like, okay, sure. Like, he seems like a decent person. Like, that's kind of it. He breaks the neck of the chicken, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then, like, Nathan is just sort of antagonistic for no reason. Like, he went off into the jungle without a partner and then came back. It's like, yeah, I'd be pretty suspicious of that too, bro. Yeah, like no, again, like, we all got to talk. If I was with them, I'd be like, no, we're gonna sit down and talk about what happened, why all these people were taken, and yeah, we're not gonna go anywhere unless we have a partner, because that's just, they could take you and then we wouldn't know, So yeah. So red herrings only work when there's like a legitimate reason to believe it. And I didn't believe in the reason, because it was just kind of like, yeah, Ana Lucia doesn't trust him, like, because he's a dick.
Yeah, okay. They never really fully committed. They didn't take it all the way.
Yeah.
If he had fought more, literally every time this happens in movies, they always say that one line: who voted you to be the leader? Who elected you to be town sheriff? That's literally all he had to say. Yeah. And we know what this trope is. We know who this guy is. I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to be the one to challenge authority. And then your red herring works, Yeah. Hell, Sawyer has said that to like 3 different characters in season 1, Yeah. That like, we would know, okay, this is who that guy is. We know what's going on. It's little things like that. Like, you have to cram all this story into this one episode, and you could have saved yourself a big chunk of that time just by having that one line in there. So, yeah, I don't know. Definitely could have been done differently. It is interesting though how Goodwin joins him like day one. I'm not exactly sure what the Ethan timeline was.
Yeah.
Because I don't also know, like, I'm assuming they're closer to the tail section because the tail section survivors, they know the other's territory and they're trying to avoid it for the most part. So I think they were just closer to the others. That's why this happened to them.
Yeah.
I remember like watching it for the first time, and we've said this before. Like, okay, what would we do on the island? Yeah, what role would we be playing? And I'm like, this was kind of like a little bit of that fan fiction. Oh, new survivors, let's see who's gonna do what. And then they're all gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Bernard, man. I really like his character. But it's interesting when she's talking to Anna Lucia's talking to Goodwin. She's like, why did you take them? Who were the 9? So one of the guys has a list on him of the 9 people they want to take, their names, what they're wearing, all that stuff. And Goodwin reveals because they're the good ones. So everyone who wasn't taken wasn't?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, that's kind of weird because everyone on that group seems pretty solid,
Yeah.
Bernard, Cindy, Libby. I'm like, they seem like good people. Mr. Echo was on that list, but they weren't able to take him down.
Yeah.
So he's one of the good ones. Anna Lucia can go either way because she's pretty hardcore. I'm like, all right, I could see you, doing something.
Yeah. I mean, she said she was gonna chop off Nathan's finger, Yeah. Yeah. But why is Bernard not on the list?
Yeah, he should have been taken day one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, would we have been taken?
Well, it's interesting too, because Goodwin was saying day one they took the strongest, the athletic ones.
Well, that's not me. I'm not.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe my size alone, they would take me. I'm like, I'll save you the trouble, guys. You don't have to.
He's kind of lean. Yeah, we'll take him. What about the other one? Nah, just leave him.
I feel like they would take us just to be safe. Well, here's the thing, Sam.
Maybe
because both of us, we're pretty big dudes.
Yeah.
So, one, they'll take us because, especially as day one, nobody knows who each other are. So they're just going to be judging people physically. So that alone tells me, like, well, how'd you know who's a good person? Who is it? How'd you already know?
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe Goodwin was already part of the group at that point, so maybe he just like quit judging character. Maybe they would have taken us because they realized, hey, these 2 dudes are good dudes. 2, they might have taken us because like, hey, they're bigger dudes. They might pose a threat.
That's fair.
Or 3, these guys got brown skin, so they pose a threat.
I knew it out first. I knew there was going to be a reason. Racist. Even on a deserted island, there's got to deal with racism. Thanks a lot.
Okay, but here we go. I'll say this: we're talking about 2021.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
doesn't matter. Racism is not a new concept.
No,
okay,
this plane crashed in 2004.
Yeah,
so that would have been high school Matt and middle school Sam. I don't think we would have been a threat at all.
No, but we would have fallen under the banner of children, so they would have taken us. Yeah.
I mean, we were both teenagers at the time. Well, maybe you were just under teenager, but
no, you were a teenager. When did you say 2004?
2004. So I was like 17.
I was in the 7th grade.
7th grade. I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I was literally half the man I am now. No beard, no mustache. So I feel like that's less intimidating.
I remember.
I was already wearing contacts, so I would probably be like blind as a bat. Like this guy is not a threat. I would have like unknowingly walked into the other's camp just because I was blind as a bat. I gotta take these contacts off. They're burning my eyes.
Wow.
The salt water. Also, we talked about you and I would be the guys building shelter. Like, look, man, we're gonna find some vines or something, try and make some rope.
Well, okay,
stuff down.
but we've been saying that this whole time with the idea that like, oh, we're talking about us now if we had been on that plane. Yeah. But now that you've added the caveat of no, this was back in 2004, so you and I are also in our 2004 selves.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, I mean,
I think I would have done the same things.
I mean, yeah, one, I would have like stuck by your side and never left you because I'm like, I don't know these people. We're on an island. I want mom and dad, and it's just you and I. But yeah, you and I would probably have started figuring out like, okay, we at least need a bathroom close to the beach. You know,
I feel like, dude, that was our Boy Scout years, man.
Yeah,
I feel like
I wasn't even an Eagle Scout yet. I didn't get it. Oh, you weren't either.
I got mine senior year. Right, yeah, I might have just got it because I think
you had to get it before your 18th birthday because I had to do the same thing.
Yeah, it was early senior year. I got mine. So yeah. I'm thinking, my intelligence was about the same as it is now.
What?
But my wisdom was a lot lower back then. So I would have. I probably would have. Well, then again, night one, I don't know. I mean, this is a fantasy. We're all making it up as we go. I probably would have tried to start making shelter, at least something to sleep on, because I do not want to sleep in sand.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be much more probably gullible. I would probably go and look, you get 17-year-old Matt. I don't care what happens. Like, I'm following Ana Lucia. You know, like, yes, ma'am. You point me in the right direction.
I mean, yeah,
I'll do it.
Yeah, you get you have a Latina in like a leadership role.
It just feels natural. Nope. You know, yeah. It's just like baked into our DNA.
It's the communal bonding. You know, it's like when you're in a room and there's only like a couple of there's only like one or two people of color in that room with you, like. You kind of instinctively like draw eyes at each other whenever something happens. You're like, what? I saw that. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it's the same thing,
No, when Michelle Rodriguez tells you to shut your mouth, you shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Not because you're threatened, but
I say how
you're
high.
Like, I agree. Yeah. How high? Oh man. I think they would have taken us first. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I agree because I think 17 and 12-year-old.
How old are you? 7th grade, 12?
Yeah. Well, depending on what we were taking, I would have just turned 13.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like 17 and 12 to 13-year-old Matt and Sam. Yeah, because they took the kids. They took the kids and they took the strongest ones, ones that pose a threat. So I'm like, I feel like. Us as teenagers wouldn't necessarily pose a threat, but we would technically still fall under the banner of children. So yeah. So yeah, I'm just assuming that they would take us.
Assuming that the others aren't racist.
Yeah. Yes. Assuming that they aren't racist. Again, they tried to take Mr. Echo, but he killed them. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. They thought he was a good person. So equal opportunity kidnappers.
Mm-hmm.
See, the whole thing with the others, though, like, I'm a little more, I don't know, what's the word? Loose now, a little more free. I'd be down with walking around barefooted. I love just bare feet in the grass. But back then, teenage Matt, no way. I gotta have my shoes on. So I don't think I would make a very good other. We saw them 2 episodes ago walking around barefooted through the jungle. I was like, no, not for me, guys. If I get like something shoved into my foot on accident, it's gonna get infected, and I'm like, no. It's a bit of a perplexing episode because I feel like it was really good, but I guess it gave us more context for the tail section people.
Yeah,
even if it wasn't like as intense as we thought.
Yeah,
it's still pretty intense.
I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm saying all these things from the viewpoint of like, oh, I'm just watching, this show. I'm watching these things happen to these people. And judging, I'm like, that doesn't look that traumatizing. That doesn't look that bad, but it's like, but when you take a step back and put yourself in their place, it's like, hey, 9 of them were taken in the middle of the night. 2 of them children. Like, I'm sure that's horrifying, and then of course finding out that one of your own who's been with you since day one from this also very traumatic event wasn't with you at all on the plane and has been here and has infiltrated you. Yeah, I'm sure that's a horrifying thing, because then you look at everybody else. It's like, well, who else can I trust?
Right.
Whereas the other group had the advantage of like, there's a lot of them. And so we all have this sense of camaraderie. And then, oh, there's one bad seed in the group. Like, oh, okay. Like, that sucks. But it did make everybody close ranks and like, hey, we're okay. We took care of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas on this opposite end, it's just like, no, we spent almost 48 days with this one person and they convinced us that they were one of us. Like, that's horrifying.
No, I was gonna say Ethan's whole goal was to get Claire.
Yeah.
To get Claire out of there and to get the baby or whatever. So we still don't really know what he wanted with her or what he was doing. Goodwin didn't have anything like that. We don't really know what his mission was, just to keep an eye on them, track them. I mean, at any point they could have just kidnapped them all. They could have just, I guess on one hand, they don't want to like lose more because they killed like 3 or 4 others in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Echo takes out 2. NLC takes out 1, 2 if you count Goodwin. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they were able to sneak in and steal 9 people, they could have easily just snuck in and like slit everyone's throats.
But we don't know. But we don't know that that's their method, and we don't know what their goal is. You know?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's what kind of leads us to believe, like, well, what do they want? What are they doing? They're obviously taking us alive. They're not killing any of us. Yeah, I don't know. Whereas Ethan, on the other hand, like, he didn't care about anyone. Like, he's gonna kill as many as he has to get Claire.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just an other. So MVPs, I think there's really only 2.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone did good, but there was really 2 main ones this episode. I'm going to say Michelle Rodriguez, of course. And Mr. Echo, who is played by Adewale Akanue Abaje. Ooh, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like he always gets like, he never really gets to shine, you know? He gets to play like Killer Croc. So he's just in prosthetics the whole time.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which I think he would have made a fantastic Killer Croc. A killer Croc.
Yeah. If it had been a good movie.
Yeah. If it had been a good movie, if they'd done anything with his character, but they didn't do anything. So yeah. He also played one of the underlings in The Mummy Returns.
Oh, that's right. I'm pretty sure that was before this.
Mummy Returns was 2002, 2 or 3.
Yeah,
it may have been 2003. Yeah, before this.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And I love his presence in this because like he's so intimidating. He's so mysterious, especially when he does his like 40 days of silence. It is interesting because like even Ana Lucia kind of like always, they keep turning to him like he's some kind of moral compass. And he's just silent. It's like, oh crap. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's good. Good actor. I want to see him more. Oh, he plays one of the villains in one of the seasons of Strike Back. I don't remember which one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just again, super intimidating bad guy. I was like, I want to see him play a good guy, you know?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, he was in, as good guy. He was in the first G.I. Joe movie.
Oh, really? I don't really remember those movies.
It was the only one I saw. But yeah, I remember, and because Weirdly enough, that one's also directed by Steven Sommer, who also directed The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. So yeah, I forget who he plays. I think he plays like the sergeant. Like he's the one who like trains the Joes. So he just like trains Channing Tatum and stuff, and then he's kind of in it. But then I mostly remember he's like piloting a sub at the
he plays
in the
heavy
final
duty.
battle. Heavy duty. That's right. That's right. Gotta love G.I. Joe for just really just slapping the job description onto your actual name.
Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's like the security guy from the consulate.
Wow, he was in the miniseries of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Ooh,
which featured Michael Caine as Captain Nemo. Wow.
Son of a look. Captain Nemo is canonically a Middle Eastern man. He was a slave of the British Empire. You cannot have classically trained white British actors playing Captain Nemo anymore. It's done. I'm over it. No, I was going to say, oh, I would like to see that. No, I don't want to see it. I don't give a shit. No, get out of here.
Oh, he was in the critically acclaimed Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What was his name? Algrim or something like that. He played Christopher Eccleston's right hand man. Turns into the big monster.
He was in Game of Thrones.
He was in it for like 2 episodes, and I was like, dude, he's in it. I'm in. Let's go. And he like did nothing. He sold Tyrion to some guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I mean, hey, props to him for getting a paycheck and being on the yet another, global, worldwide spanning, series, and also not dying or not having anything gruesome happen to him, because Game of Thrones and how they like to treat their people of color.
Yeah. I mean,
so he went in, got his check, and like, all right, cool, I'm out.
That show is just full of missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Casting wise, character wise, yeah, all of it.
Damn.
Don't get us started. I feel I can feel the tangent coming, and we're gonna nip that. We're gonna nip that right now.
Well, you know which Captain Nemo I did like? Captain Nemo in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, he was cool.
Which I just watched the other night because I felt like it. That movie's bad.
Yeah.
That movie's bad, but it had so much potential. There's so many cool little elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we need a Patreon, because if people paid us money, we would do bonus episodes like our talk on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
You'd make me watch that movie again just so we could talk about it on Patreon.
Yes, I would.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I did. This was a weird thing. It was when Sean Connery died. I was like, man, I don't know what to do now. And I was going to watch something else. And then it was late at night because I had forgotten, because, like I found out the middle of the day. I was like, oh, man. And then I went through the rest of my day, and then it was late. It was like 11:30. And I'm like, I don't want to go to bed, but, I don't know what to do. And it was on Amazon Prime. So I was like, all right, we're going to watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That's the movie you watched to honor Sean Connery's death?
To be fair, I didn't even finish it. And I think Sean Connery would have been okay with that. If that's the movie that made him quit acting in Hollywood, then I also feel contented with being like, I didn't finish that.
I will say the best part of that movie is the set design. Like, visually, it's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it has that like cool aesthetic where it's like, this is like, it's Victorian England, but there is also like a slightly modern tint to it. And then you've got like some steampunk influences. So it's like, this looks like a dope movie. It's the same thing that it's got the same thing that Wild Wild West has. It's like that set design and the costume design, like it's really good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really good design work. The movie is just not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are the kind of conversations that you can help us create and bring into your own living room, dining room, office space, dorm room, wherever you choose to listen to our show. These are the sort of conversations that we can bring to you if and when we get a Patreon.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, let us know. Hit us up at our hashtags.
So prediction wise, it's hard to make any predictions because like we're exactly the same place we were at the end of the last episode.
Yeah. I will predict that the flashing back to and catching up to where we are currently dynamic of loss that we're kind of playing around with this season. I will predict that will get better. Hopefully. Like how in this episode, we've got like, oh, we're like going to cut and fade and slow-mo our footage and go, and then cut and fade and slow-mo our footage until we finally get to the moment where we finished off last season or last episode to do that. Because it's like, okay, you guys did that. We also had the thing in the first like 3 episodes where we saw the end of the first episode like 3 times. Because that's how like the other 2 episodes after the first one ended, where it's the exact same moment where Jack's got the gun pointed at Desmond and he's like, it's you, like, duh, like they've done that 3 times, and now we have this episode where it's like caught up, and now we're flashback, and now here we are.
We've
the
seen
exact
Shannon
same
get
ending
shot twice.
I'm like, this isn't. I hope this isn't like a Bruce Wayne's parent situation where anytime we bring up Shannon, she's gonna flashback's gonna pop up where she gets shot. Like, no, I'm hoping that this element of using the same ending or like catching up to an ending that we already know, I'm hoping that gets a lot better, because just in the times that they've done it in this season, in the span of what is this, episode 7? In the span of 7 episodes, they've done that 4 times now, and I have not liked it at all. So technically 3, but because I'm not going to count the first episode, but yeah. So I'm really hoping that aspect gets a lot better.
Yeah, me too. So let's see. So next time we have episode 8, Collision, in which the Tell Section survivors finally meet everyone else. And that's all I'm saying. That's my tease.
Cool. I like it.
They've been teasing it since all season, and then the way the last episode ended and the way this episode ended, like they finally meet up. Now we're gonna get to see what happens. If you're a fan of ours, like, subscribe, rate, review, share. The big one is sharing. The more I'm finding out, the further we get into this podcast. There's a certain order of importance, but I don't remember which it is. I think it is the stars, unless I totally made that up. So if you're listening on a platform where you can rate us. And if you can, just leave a little review. Say you love us, say you don't like us, but you want to give us 5 stars anyway. Do it for us. But so if you're also interested in maybe supporting us further, we are thinking about doing a Patreon. We have a few ideas, but let us know what would you like to see or hear, really, from Lost Legacies that was extra, something you're willing to pay for. Because I mean, obviously Patreon costs money, and we don't want to, we want to give options for how much you're going to pay, but this show will always be free because this is what we like to do, and we want to share. We want to talk about Lost with y'all. But anything extra that you're willing to pay for, let us know. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it. And also, I mean, it's free to ask us questions, guys. Lost Legacies. # Hit us up. Also, I'm on Twitter _Matt Jimenez, and I'm on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
So until next time, guys,
get lost.